Thanks so much for being with me. Would you like to tell me your name, your age, and where you're from and what you do?
My name is Zuhair. Like people call me Zuhair because it's just easier to pronounce. I'm from Pakistan and I've been here in Uruguay for the last 2.5 years. I'm 25 and I've been working here in AI for as long as I've been here. Actually, I came here to work. I was invited by a tech company and I was like, okay, like why not give it a try? Because I was living in Russia. I had a lot of friends from South America and I wanted to see how's life here. So I took the opportunity, I flew here, and unfortunately, like 2 days after I came here, war started in Russia. So I was like, okay, now I really have to stay here a couple of months, see how's life. And once I got to know Uruguay more, the more I stayed here, the more I kind of liked Uruguay. Ultimately fell in love with Uruguay. And then I just decided to stay here.
How did
Yeah.
the company find you?
LinkedIn. I wanted to work online because I was doing my master's and I was contacted by our mutual friend, Manu. We had like a back and forth and it was kind of a nice opportunity for me to work with them online while also continuing my studies. But ultimately the opportunity came and they wanted to invite me here. I froze my semester in Russia. I flew here and then the rest is just like the history.
Amazing. The tech industry here obviously is booming. Uruguay is the largest exporter of software in Latin America. So I assume that there are lots of job opportunities for people from abroad here.
Yeah, especially in the field of AI, because they were always looking for people. And when I came here back in 2021, right after the COVID, the opportunities were even better during that time. So I just took one of the opportunities. There were times when things were not going so well, especially in 2023. I remember that many people lost their jobs. There was this Silicon Valley bank issue. There was this recession happening everywhere. So things were kind of tough that year. But apart from that, like you said, the Uruguay has been like one of the biggest providers of tech support. And many companies from United States, they like to work from people from Uruguay for many reasons. They're good researchers, many things happening here, a lot of conferences. And secondly, because of the time zone, similar time zone. And third, we have like tax-free zones here. So what companies are doing here are they're buying the local companies, and with the local companies also come the local employees. So it's kind of easier for them, and they get their offices in Zona America. So it's like a win-win situation for them. So they don't have to pay the United States salaries, but they still pay better than the rest of the local companies. And it's kind of nice to provide people an opportunity to work remotely as well. Foreign industry in tech sector is really booming right now.
Where do you live in Uruguay? Do you rent?
No, actually, I live in a co-living. When I came to Uruguay, this is the first time I heard about the concept of co-living. It's not the typical hostel, it's not hotel, it's something in the middle. So basically, it's like a building where everybody have their own studios or apartments, and then you have like the shared spaces like kitchen, the gaming area, gym, spa. I don't know, like my co-living has a piscina at the rooftop. So it's a
A
pretty
swimming
interesting
pool.
place. Yeah. But the most important thing is that there are a lot of expats like me living here. So you get to meet a lot of interesting people from different backgrounds. Like I have met actors here, I've met singers here, I've met business owners, I've met a lot of people from IT, of course, some exchange students. So you get to meet like many different kind of people of different ages and background. So that's amazing, especially for someone like me who came from a different place and had to socialize. So I think these kind of places are perfect for that.
And can you give us an idea of how much it costs?
When I came here, it started from $700, but now I think the cheapest room that's available is 1,000 and something. And then it goes all the way up to 3,000 if you want the most luxury one with a view and balcony and 3 rooms.
And with a
So
view
it
of the
depends
water.
really. with the view of the water, with the view of the sunset and everything. Yeah.
But that includes everything.
Yeah.
Mm.
So that includes all the services. That includes the cleaning, which is weekly. They change the bed sheets. They do
Oh,
everything.
nice.
And, yeah. So for a lazy person like me, it was a perfect place to stay.
Excellent. Would
Yeah.
you share what your typical week looks like? Can you take us through like the kind of things you do, maybe what you eat? And it's always helpful to know
Mhm.
what you spend.
It's gonna be really different from what a normal person would do and eat. I'm a lazy person. One of the reasons I like Uruguay is the only place I've found people lazier than me. It's just amazing. Like when I came here, my mom always used to push me like, Zoo, learn to cook, or you'll have a hard time because you're gonna go to Russia and then you're gonna go somewhere else. So it's better if you know a couple of recipes. But I never listened. When I came here, the first thing I did is I started checking if there are like Indian restaurants here. Indian food is really similar to Pakistani food. So I started calling them one by one and I asked them, do you guys do like monthly deals? Like if you send me food, lunch and dinner, and then we can like have some sort of discount and arrangement. And they're like, well, nobody asked us before, but it sounds like a interesting plan. So I found this Indian group where the families would cook, like upload what they have cooked today, and they would send it through Ubers. And I found one of the families, they had their restaurant. They were pretty excited about it. They were like, "Oh, sure, why not? Let me get back to you." Within 1 hour, he got back with a full plan, with the prices and everything. And honestly, it was way cheaper than if I was just going to buy food outside. And of course, I was getting the food which is really similar to my food. So I was pretty happy about it. So I made the deal with them, and I had the deal for like 1.5 years. And then the family finally decided to move to States. But they were like, Zoo, don't worry, we found another family for you. And I was like, perfect. So they so they switched, like they moved the business to another family, and now it's the same thing, just with a different family. And I get to taste like two different kind of Indian food because one of the families were from the southern part and this one is from the northern part. So I'm like having the taste of India from different parts.
So you've got your food taken care of.
Yeah,
What else
I
is
got my
going
food
on your
taken care of.
week?
It's not like I don't have time to cook, but that's what I tell people. I'm a busy person. The life in AI and tech is just crazy, but that's not true actually. My typical day looks like I wake up around 9:30 or 10 on the work day because I have flexible hours. I'm working for a company in States, so I work remotely. I typically wake up when I have the meeting. So I attend my meetings, I have my breakfast, I take the shower and everything, like do my routine. And then I get to the work. I have this like focus hour for 2 hours or something. I really focus until the lunchtime. Then I have my lunch. Then if I see if I have more meetings or if I have to do some other work, I do that. And once I'm finished with the work, I go to the gym. After gym, I have my music lessons, just like playing guitar or writing songs myself. Some days I have boxing. Some days I would like to go out and I don't know, attend a free tango lesson. Some days I like to go to the Teatro Solis. Then at night I have dinner, sometimes with friends, and then we go out, like chill a bit, play some pool, or there's always something happening in the co-living. So you just go outside in the kitchen or in the rooftop, and there are always people doing something, so you hang out with them. At night, I would like to read a bit, call my family, so I talk to them. This is how my workday looks like. On weekends, I don't plan anything, so I just let it flow.
A lot of people think that Uruguay is not a place for somebody like yourself who's in their 20s.
Um,
I mean, there's an aging population here. It's a great place definitely for people with families and retired people. But you're
right.
breaking the mold here. You're saying that you've got a really active social life. Sorry to jump in. You may be watching this video because you're interested in moving to Uruguay. I've been living in and writing about life here as a foreigner for the last 10 years. Find out more by going to guruguay.com. A lot of people think that Uruguay is not a place for somebody like yourself who's in their 20s.
Um,
I mean, there's an aging population here. It's a great place definitely for people with families and retired people. But you're
right.
breaking the mold here. You're saying that you've got a really active social life.
The thing is that I've always been involved in many different activities. For example, I do music, I go to the music school. I'm in the badminton team, so I play badminton as well. Then I have this boxing gym where I go, then the normal gym. Apart from that, I also play with a band. Then the friends you meet in when you go out, then the friends of the friends and the colleagues, the past colleagues. So basically, you kind of meet a lot of people from different places, and of course, living the co-living also helps. If you have an active social life and you have your activities going on, I think it's easy to connect with people and make friends.
Do you speak Spanish?
If I have to, the first year I was basically relying on my friends and Google Translate,
Mhm.
but then I started slowly catching up. Like it 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 happens if you live long enough at some place, you kind of learn, you know.
So for people that only speak English, I think that they're going to
Yeah.
pick up the language easily, I think is not something that's necessarily going to happen.
It depends, I would say, because it also depends on the language. I had friends from Italy, for example, and Brazil. So it's pretty easy for them to pick up the language, right? Because their language is kind of similar to Spanish.
Yeah.
Me having a totally different background, like it's crazy because sometimes Uruguayan people, out of curiosity, ask me like, "How do you say this in your language?" And for some reason, they think that if I say that, they would understand it. And then like, no entendí nada. And I was like, of course, you're not gonna understand anything. It's a totally different language. And then when I tell them that you write it from right to left, they are even more surprised. So it's a really different thing, really different language, really different culture, really different background. But I guess like I told myself, okay, if I'm gonna stay here for long, and since I really like Spanish, I would try to at least pay attention. If I'm too lazy to take classes and I'm sleeping in the lessons, I would just like try to pay attention and learn on my own. And that helped. And for the last couple of months, I had a lot of friends from Spain and just speaking with them, and they also trying to kind of push me, to speak a bit. There was a point where all of my friends, actually many all of the groups, they were like, okay, we're not gonna speak to you in English anymore because you're becoming lazy. I mean, it doesn't work long term, and I always find the excuses, but that also helped.
In your work,
Mhm.
what language is used commonly? Because most people that work in your company, I'm sure, are Uruguayans, right?
Not really, because we have people from many different countries. We have people from mostly from United States, then India, Brazil, Uruguay.
You're working entirely remotely in that case.
Yes, we have an office here. We go there like once every 2 months maybe to have a barbecue. So, yeah, if there's a free asado, I don't miss the office, but otherwise I just work from home. But I have worked in the other companies, like I said, the company that invited me here, and after that, I worked in another Uruguayan company, and it's a totally different thing working remotely for states and working in the Uruguayan company. You know how like Uruguayan people are, they really take their things like slowly and take their time, drinking their mate, like everything tranquilo. So it was a really nice and chill working environment. I really enjoyed working there. So working in an Uruguayan company, and there as well, like they also kind of pushed me to speak Spanish. The thing that helped me the most is like talking in Spanish with international people. It's easier to understand them. If there's an international event, or when you get to meet people from different countries, they have different accents. So when they talk in Spanish, for some reason, it's easier for me to understand because when Uruguayans talk, it's a different thing.
Oh, you
So
find the accent difficult?
yes, I mean, if somebody's like talking to me directly and not rapping or talking super fast, then I would understand it, you know. But if I'm in a group, we have like a couple of beers down, and then they are talking in the group, like, you know, having a conversation, then sometimes I get lost. So I
Well,
have
but with a
to,
couple of beers down, you're probably a bit more fluent in Spanish anyway, aren't you?
yeah, that's true. Like my Spanish is on another level when I'm drunk. Yeah.
Uh, I have to ask you because everybody thinks that in a tech company, wherever in the world, I guess, even I would imagine like there's going to be like an intensity. But you're saying that here in Uruguay, in that it's more laid back.
Uruguay is the only place where I can find people like me, you know, taking things really chill and not like worrying too much, especially in the work. So yeah, I kind of like this environment. Like they take their things slowly. They like to take their time, you know, have a lot of meetings about things before start working on them. The first meeting I had, like everybody joined after 10 minutes. I was like, okay, vamos arriba. And then we
So
talked
they
about,
arrive 10 minutes late. I guess 10
yes,
minutes is
like
quite reasonable.
everybody's,
Yeah.
yeah. Well, that was actually really good. No, 10 minutes. I guess they worked a lot on it to join like just 10 minutes after.
Yes.
But so I was a bit confused. I was like, maybe the meeting was canceled or something. But then I realized, okay, everybody's are coming on at their own comfort level, you know. So I was like, okay, that's nice. And then we talked about football and weather and everything else for the rest of the 20 minutes. And then when we had the last 10 minutes left, we actually talked about work. So I was like, I found my place. I love this. I'm most productive when I'm tranquilo. And they're like, you're always tranquilo. I'm like, well, things get done. So they never complain.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Yeah.
So I did want to ask you the things that have surprised you positively about Uruguay. You've already talked about quite a few. Any other ones that you'd like to add?
The thing that surprised me, like Uruguay is expensive, and it is really expensive. I never thought that Uruguay would be that expensive. They live on a different velocity. I love that. That was surprising. The culture here, it's kind of different from the culture you see in Latin movies, for example, right? Like you see Mexico, you see Peru, and these places have a different culture. And Uruguay and this part, Argentina, asados. I was surprised by asados.
So the
How
barbecues,
so
yeah.
deeply integrated. Mate, everybody on Ramla. I remember the first time I was just like walking around the city, and everybody was like this. I was like, maybe this is a style. I should get a water bottle and hold it like this. But no, it was mate, and I was really surprised. Like for Uruguayans, mate is like a companion. It's not just mate.
What else has there been that, you've been like, this is not so great?
Like sometimes when you have to go to offices to do some paperwork, especially in government offices. I remember when I was applying for my residence in Cedula, that was a hectic process. So every time I had an appointment, I would take a day off because it would eventually take like up to 5 hours.
So you just said about when you got your residency, and I did want to ask you
Hmm.
about that because Pakistan is a country that requires a visa,
Right.
right, to come to Uruguay. There are not that
Yeah.
many countries that do, but a lot of Asian countries require a
Yeah.
visa. And I was wondering, was that difficult to get? Did the company help you out to get that
Exactly.
invited you, help you out with that? If you'd like to learn more about whether Uruguay is a great fit for you, you might want to visit guruguay.com and hit consultations. So you just said about when you got your residency, and I did want to ask you
Hmm.
about that because Pakistan is a country that requires a visa,
Right.
right, to come to Uruguay. There are not that
Yeah.
many countries that do, but a lot of Asian countries require a
Yeah.
visa. And I was wondering, was that difficult to get? Did the company help you out to get that invited
Exactly.
you, help you out with that?
We don't have an embassy of Uruguay in Pakistan. Um, like we have one in Iran, which is the nearest, and then we have one in Russia. Luckily, I was already in Russia, So the whole process was handled by my company, and I just had to fly to Moscow to basically receive my visa, and that's it. It was pretty easy for me in that regard. And once I came here, they also helped me like doing the paperwork for my residence. And surprisingly, I got the permanent residence in a month. Like they told me usually it takes like a year, 2 years, 3 years, but I got it in a month. So that
That's
was
amazing.
yeah, that was a nice surprise. I don't think that people usually try to file Uruguayan visa because like it's not a popular tourist destination, especially for Pakistanis. But if somebody would have to, they would have to either go to Iran, which would require another visa, unfortunately, or they will have to go to Russia to do that.
What advice would you have to somebody that's like, like your age, who's thinking about moving to Uruguay?
If we talk about Uruguay, minimum salary, I think it's like $600. And with $600, you can hardly cover your rent. So if someone is not highly skilled, especially in the industries like tech or medical, because most of the people who are coming here, either they're doctors or they're like IT professionals. So if you're not one of those and you're just getting started as a student and you don't have the financial support already handled, then it's not the best place to come and explore the opportunities because working here doing odd jobs won't help much. So for someone my age who are thinking of coming to Uruguay for that, I wouldn't recommend it because of the cost of the living and how the professional situation is with apart from the tech sector and the medical sector, of course.
My advice is always get an invitation for your job, get your job contract before you
Exactly.
come here in a decent
Yeah.
industry. I had a friend who actually was hired as a manager for a factory here.
Mhm.
She didn't actually negotiate the salary because she assumed it was going to be a good enough salary to be able to live. And when she
Right.
arrived here and she found out how poor the salary was, she found
Hmm.
herself having to, like, before she even started, saying, I'm sorry, but I can't take the job. And it was a huge shock for her. She just hadn't imagined.
Right. No, you always have to, it always comes as a shock because you might think that the salary is like, it seems good for South America, right? But then people don't know that Uruguay is expensive. So when they come here, they try to look for a place, and they see the rent prices are like shooting the sky. What I did beforehand was like I talked to my colleagues, I talked to some people who were already here, and I asked them their like honest opinion on the cost of living, how they're handling things, what's the financial situation and everything. So that kind of gave me an idea that what I'm getting myself into and like how much would I be spending, and that really helped. Considering that I'm moving to a totally different country, which is new for me, and I have no idea what's the cost of living, I would try to negotiate the salary first.
Life in Uruguay is
Life in Uruguay is tranquilo.
the cost of living.
Cost of living super high. That's okay. I'll take out the word super. Maybe that was an exaggeration because we had been talking about it. But okay, let's say high.
The tech sector in Uruguay is.
The tech sector in Uruguay is booming. There are many new opportunities coming. So if you're a guy who's working in IT, like to live chill and lazy life, Uruguay is for you.
And a woman as well, right? Because I was really hoping to talk to somebody from the tech sector who is also a
Hmm.
woman, and I found it impossible to find a foreigner who is a woman working in the tech sector here. I wish I'd known before I moved here that.
I wish I had known that I will decide to stay here.
Would that have made a difference to your preparations?
Um, when I came here, I left some stuff in Russia. So I still had some things, and my friends were still there. Some of them were graduating. My bandmates were there. And then slowly I realized that I'm seeing pictures with somebody wearing my jacket, somebody wearing my pants, and I was like, okay, they started like the distribution already. Nice.
I love that.
Yeah.
Okay, and the last one, the biggest difference between my life before and my life now.
Russia is a really different place to live. I usually say it's a different planet covered with snow. It's actually helped me a lot because like studying in that environment and when you have like the deadlines on your head and you have to do work really, really fast and you have a lot of work to do, that helped me a lot here because when I came here, some days you don't have a lot of work and you can finish it in like I don't want to say the time frame because I might get fired, but then like it helps you, keep like being chill and do your work at your pace. But life was really different in terms of the the pace of work. Like the Russians are, like I said, their time is divided into 5 minutes blocks. They're gonna take 5 minute nap and then they're gonna go to gym and then they're gonna do this. They have this much time for eating, and it was kind of like a robotic life. We were researching on robots, but we were also living a robotic life. Pretty interesting though, because they say Russia is not for beginners, and that's true. So when I came to Uruguay, like the weather was totally different. I loved Ramla. Like this is the first time I'm living close to Ramla or like in a city where we have Ramla. So that was really nice for me. The weather was really nice. The people were really, really nice. It kind of reminded me of my city as well. Like in some neighborhoods I go, I get deja vu. I was like, have I been here before? So yeah, I really felt at home, basically.
Amazing. Well, Zoo, thank you so much. This has been super. Really appreciate your time.
Thank you for having me. It was really fun.